Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and today we are taking a look at the Nashville Predators, and I really like how the thumbnail came out. Let me know what you guys think down below if you guys like the thumbnail. Obviously, you like it somewhat, right, if you saw the video and clicked on it, but I think it was a pretty nice thumbnail. Either way, we're going to take a look at the Nashville Predators today, right? What's their future after losing in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs to the Vancouver Canucks? I almost said the Oilers. I caught myself. The Edmonton Oilers are not in this series. The Canucks. So, the Nashville Predators' path to the playoffs was pretty impressive to begin with, right? I think, the expectation-wise coming into this season, Barry Trotz comes in last year. He's the new guy kind of running things. And then you've got Andrew Burnett behind the bench, which I think that combo is incredible. As an Islander fan, I wish the Islanders had Andrew Burnett and Barry Trotz right now. That duo, it's perfect. I'm very jealous of the Predators and their fans right now for that. But they find themselves in a bit of a situation because, going into the playoffs, they went on a tear. They were my team. If they were the dark horse team in the Western Conference, it would have been the Predators. And unfortunately, it just didn't pan out that way. The goal scoring really dried up. They had a really good run earlier in the calendar year of 2024. They went on a serious heater. And then they kind of fell off like the last month of the season. It just seemed like the Predators just weren't there anymore. That magic of this team just kind of dried up. And it was unfortunately going to the playoffs. It was a difficult road for them. It wasn't as easy as I think Predators fans were hoping for. And they kind of had a better matchup against the Canucks. I think they really matched up well against them. They couldn't get the clutch scoring. And we talked about that in the kind of recapping the series. Roman Josi, what's his name? Ryan O'Reilly, even Philip Forsberg. He did score in this series, but you were just hoping for more, right? They just didn't get enough goal scoring. It was a very, I think, eye-opening series for the younger guys like Evangelista, UC Parson. He only played in one game, but Juuso Parssinen, and some of the other younger players in Nashville. It was a good experience for them, but it just wasn't enough. They need more goal scoring there because that was obvious, especially in game. I think this series really shifted in game 3 when they had that 5-on-3 power play with a couple minutes left. They were able to only score one goal during that whole sequence. They really needed to there, and they just couldn't get it done when it mattered. So going into this offseason, we're going to go over who I think they should extend. Let's just get that conversation done. Who they should let go, and then who should they trade? Because I think there's a lot of things that Barry Trotz can do in his first full season here. He evaluated the team during the year. Now he could kind of get an idea of where does this team look now. Going into this first full offseason, what can Barry Trotz do? So, right off the bat, let's see who they're going to extend. Anthony Beauvillier. I think that Barry Trotz knew going into this offseason that, they traded for Beauvillier at the deadline. He knows what he got with Bo. He was with him with the New York Islanders. He coached him. And some of the best years of Anthony Beauvillier's career were with Barry Trotz on the New York Islanders. So it's not all that surprising to me that Beauvillier, is gonna get a shot here with Barry Trotz and Andrew Burnett. I think he's gonna get an opportunity next season to get some more ice time. I really like Bo. I miss him. Again, you want to talk about jealousy as an Islander fan between Andrew Burnett, Barry Trotz, and Anthony Beauvillier. Oh man, it's really hard for me not to like the Nashville Predators and to put a smile on my face. But Juuso Parssinen as well. I really like Juuso Parssinen. Yeah, his numbers weren't that great. He definitely had better numbers in Milwaukee with the AHL team, but give him more time. I think they need to extend him and see more of what he can provide. Alex Carrier is a big one because I think they'd like to keep him, but I don't know where Carrier's head is at right now. Does he want to test the free agent market? That could be an opportunity. He has an opportunity to do that here. He is a UFA, and like I said, the Predators have not re-signed him to this point. But I would expect Barry Trotz will do everything he can to try and get something done there. And then Stastny on the back end, I think they're going to try and re-sign him. He's still very young. I think there's more that we need to see from him before they decide to trade him or let him go. So I expect to see him back with the Predators next season. The guys they should let go. This one's kind of tough because I like Jason Zucker, but it depends on the number he gets, right? If Jason Zucker's willing to take a hefty discount compared to his, I think, $4 or $5 million he's made over the last couple years. I would like to see him come back, but if the number's not there, I think it's easy to let him walk out the door, especially if you have Yuso Parsonen playing more and you re-sign Anthony Beauvillier. I just don't know if you're going to need Zucker at a higher number, right? And again, if it means signing Alex Carrier or Jason Zucker, I think it's easy to give the door to Jason Zucker if it means Alex Carrier comes back, right? Jarrett Anderson-Dolan was one of the pieces in the Fiala and Arvidsson, the weird trades they made with the Kings over the last couple years, and I just don't know if there's enough there. It kind of sucks. I was hoping he could be a good player. It just hasn't worked out for him, so I don't know what's going to happen with him. I mean, he has an RFA with Arbright, so maybe they just go to arbitration. He takes whatever, and then he plays in Milwaukee next season. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but I wouldn't be even surprised if they just didn't qualify him and just let him go to free agency and see what else they've got. Kiefer Sherwood, I could take or leave too, kind of like Dolan. I mean, I would like to see him come back to Nashville, but it's not like dire. So, I don't know. Maybe he comes back, maybe he doesn't. Tyson Barrie, I think they're going to be okay with letting him go. They're going to try and see what some of the younger defensemen can do there next year, I think. And it's one of those things with Tyson Barrie. I think it's going to be kind of a mutual, they look at each other, and they're just like, yeah, let's just part ways. Let's make this easier on both of us. And I think that's what's going to happen there. Kevin Lankinen in between the pipes. I wouldn't mind seeing them get a different backup next year. It depends on what happens with Askarov. I think Askarov will be the backup next year anyway. So if Lankinen goes, I think Lankinen sees the writing on the wall. I don't know if I'm going to be able to beat him in training camp. So Lankinen probably wants to go somewhere where he could be a backup next year. And if that's the case, then maybe he moves on. If he's okay with being the starter in Milwaukee, then maybe he takes that opportunity and runs with it. Who knows? But that's going to be something that's interesting. Looking at who they could trade, we're going to look at cap friendly here because I think there's a lot you could do with this team right now. That's kind of interesting. So in terms of trade, there's a lot of things we need to address. So the first thing is looking at their draft picks. 2024, they have a lot of draft picks, especially in the first 4 rounds, right? So you got your own first, you have 3 seconds, 2 thirds, and 3 fourth-round picks. So they have a lot of capital there. They have a 2025 first, which is Tampa's, and a third-round pick from Colorado. So they have a lot of draft pick capital. So in terms of getting more draft picks, I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the most important thing to Barry Trotz in terms of what he wants in deals. He's probably going to want players. So like I said, guys that are that need to be extended and things like that. There's a couple of interesting ones here that I want to look at. So Jeremy Lauzon got an extension. I expect him to come back. I don't expect them to trade him. I'm interested to see in terms of what could happen with a player like Dante Fabro, because I'm kind of interested in the value that teams have on Dante Fabro at this point around the league, because he's the type of player that, at a fairly young age, it's really hard to evaluate where he's at. Is there teams that still think he is a top pairing defenseman? Is he a top 4 defenseman? Where's the value for Fabro? And does he maybe want a change of scenery? He did take the extension from the Predators to stay for another 1-year deal, but I wonder where things are at with Fabro at this point, right? He had 13 points in 56 games. In the playoffs, he only played 3 games in the playoffs this year. It's really weird when you're trying to evaluate where his value is at, and I think that might be part of the problem if they do try to trade him. Where's his value? Can you get a top 6 winger for Dante Fabro? And if not, it might be and that might be why Barry Trotz kept him, because he's probably thinking, let's see another year of this kid. Let's see what we've got, because instead of trading him for lower value than he's worth, let's see what his value truly is, and if he's worth nothing, And I hate to say that, but if he's worth nothing, well, then we lose him for nothing next year. But if he's worth something, we'll keep him, re-sign him, or if he doesn't want to stay, well, we could trade him for a top 6 winger next year. I think that's kind of the route Barry Trotz is going. He's betting on himself here. He's betting on Dante Fabro. Dante Fabro is betting on himself as well, because if he has a really good breakout season next year, well, he's going to be at what? He's going to be 24 years old at that point, and he'll be looking for a pretty good salary. He might be looking for a 4 to 6 year contract next summer. And yeah, he's already 25 years old. So he's at that point now where it's kind of make or break for Fabro. And if Fabro wants to get a 5-6 year contract as soon as next summer, the time's ticking now. If he wants that contract, now is the time. And if not, we might be looking at a scenario where New Brunswick, BC, or North Westminster, BC. Maybe he finds himself in Vancouver next year at the deadline. Who knows? Because I know the Canucks could love another puck-moving defenseman. Maybe Dante Fabro finds some life there in Vancouver next year. But I don't think they're going to do that over the summer. I think this is something we're going to talk about maybe next January, like 2025, January 2025. Maybe Dante Fabro gets traded. But now that they just extended him, I think they've given more leash, and they want to evaluate more on what he could be. The UC Saros trade talk, he's a year away from free agency. That conversation has to be happening right now, especially with Askarov in the pipeline. I think what's concerning is we didn't see a great goalie performance from Saros in the playoffs. But, with Askarov in the pipeline kind of looming behind, you kind of ask yourself, does Barry Trotz find the allegiance with Askarov or UC Saros? I think we're going to find out this summer, because if they don't re-sign UC Saros this summer, I think Barry Trotz is very much going to be taking calls on UC Saros if a deal isn't done on July 1st. I truly believe that. And if he doesn't extend him and doesn't start fielding calls, I think teams are going to start asking about UC Saros. So we'll see. I think those are the two players, if I'm Nashville, that I'm fielding and seeing what is out there between Dante Fabro and UC Saros. The one guy I think could be available is Saros, as crazy as that sounds. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of the Canucks? Like I said, it's disappointing that the team didn't get where they wanted to go. They have some really good pieces in the pipeline as well. This is a team that, because they've been trading some of their assets and kind of retooling, Fedor Svechkov, Joachim Kemmel, Reed Schaefer, Zach Leheu, Philip Tomasino, Igor Afanasiev. Those are all pretty good forward prospects on the blue line. Tanner Moldnik, Adam Wilsby, Jake Livingstone, Jeremy Hansel, and then, of course, Yaroslav Askarov in between the pipes. There is a pretty good pool of prospects there for Nashville. So I would say the future looks bright for the Predators. I know that's hard to hear right now because you just lost in a really brutal fashion to the Canucks, but patience is key here. It's year one under Brunette and Barry Trotz. If they get to the playoffs again next year, I think that's a success for the Oilers. Oh, Jesus. I think that's a success for the Predators. But let me know what you guys think down below. What kind of trades and moves would you like to see the Predators make this summer? Who would you like to keep? That's a pending UFA. Who would you like to see them let go? Let me know down below. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.